Valera.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about her?
Yeah,
You
no,
showed the
yeah,
TED
the
talk for
Morphean
a few
mind.
minutes.
Yeah, the Morphean mind.
Yes, okay. So keep that in mind. And I think Hume thinks that way, but I'm not sure about that. But in any case, all of our impressions that we have going on in our head came at least from bits of impressions that we already had. And yes, we can combine them so that we have ideas. Although we also have to be careful with him because we have ideas, and the ideas are not necessarily, so it's not Kant yet, but at the same time, they're not necessarily impressions that I've had. For example, when I think of love as a category, I might not have a particular sensual impression of what love is, although if I go and look at his book, and go further than let's see, because so the first section ends with personal identity and then his conclusion, the conclusion of the book. But then if we go on to, I'm in the other section here. Let's go back to this, and I want to look at. Anybody see love anywhere?
There's curiosity or love of truth. There's the direct.
That's the love of truth, though. I want love of.
That might be included on the direct passions. Of love and hatred. Object and causes of love and hatred.
Yes. Okay. So here, what we're talking about. Do I go backwards or forwards with that? I was trying to explain. Oh, how did that happen? Okay, don't change the font while I'm in the middle of a page, I guess. Not a good thing. So, it is altogether impossible to give any definition of the passions of love and hatred, and that because they produce merely a simple impression, without any mixture or composition. 'Twould be as unnecessary to attempt any description of them drawn from their nature, origin, etc., etc., etc. But the immediate impression, but though the object of love and hatred be always some other person. So he's talking about love in the relationship with another person's sense, right? It is plain that the object is not, properly speaking, the cause of these passions, or alone sufficient to excite them. For since love and hatred are directly contrary in their sensation, and have the same object in common, if that object were also their cause, it would produce these opposite passions in an equal degree. And as they must, from the very first moment, destroy each other, none of them would ever be able to make its appearance. By the way, I know we talk about sociopaths and psychopaths as individuals that appear to not be able to have these kinds of experiences. He doesn't discuss them at all that I've ever seen. There must therefore be some cause different from the object. We find they're very diversified. There's not one of these objects but what by its different qualities may produce love and esteem, or hatred and contempt. This is an interesting thing. He talks about a prince who also owns a palace. I can be absolutely thrilled with his having the palace and thinking the palace is beautiful and so on. So what did the impressions, the sensual or perceptions that I'm having have to do with that? He's going to argue that there's another aspect to having the experience that enables us to feel that this palace is beautiful. Besides the impressions we're getting, there's something else that's going to kind of give us a value system that makes us feel the one is loved and the other is hated, right? One is beautiful, the other is ugly. Where does that come from? And it doesn't just come from the sense impressions that we're getting. There's some other categorization that's imposed on that. So he's already aware that that has to be the case, right? So I mean, if we talked about this as a cultural thing, right? So like talking about Beethoven, if you're not raised in a cultural climate that leads you to listen to that kind of music, you might not think of Beethoven as that magnificent. You're not familiar with it, perhaps, right? What Mozart are you familiar with? Probably not very much, although I doubt in our culture you could avoid it entirely. But I remember for a while there was the so-called Mozart effect. Young people with young children would actually play Mozart for their children even before they were born, with the idea that listening to Mozart, because the womb is a womb with a view, right? It hears. You can hear from 3 months or so. The fetus has earbuds. Those earbuds are actually developing the memory of the hearing in the brain as the fetus is growing, and of course, so whatever you're hearing while you're growing in the womb is literally going to be part of what your structure is, your brain, your hearing sense, presumably, right? So the argument was to play Mozart for your child, and that will help the logical development and the music development of the brain of the child, because theoretically Mozart's music, Beethoven's too, is like the most perfect logical music that there is, etc. Do you believe that, by the way?
Where was this sounds like Mozart?
Pardon?
Mozart.
Mozart.
Yeah.
You've heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Well, I find it funny that there's this fixation on Beethoven, though. From what I heard a lot of is music buffs. It's like Mozart is equal or greater than Beethoven in a lot of ways. I can't offer any definitive explanation on that matter. It's just what I've heard from people, so take it with a grain of salt. Matter of opinion.
The best presents touch our hearts. Things that are handmade, personalized, and mean.
What do you have for me today?
Oh, I watched this movie.
Yes, yes, about it. Yeah. Come. Well, there it is. Good.
Your Majesty, I hope you won't find it improper, but I've written a little march of welcome in his honor.
What a charming idea, composer. May I see?
The court composer is Salieri.
Just a trifle, of course. May I try it?
Majesty.
Let's have some fun. Delightful book, composer. May I play it when he comes in?
You're doing too much honor, sire.
Bring in Herr Mozart, please. But slowly, slowly. Need a bit of practice.
Good, continue. G.
sex relationship
Tempo.
and tell the emperor, you're
Then
crap.
strong. The march. Okay.
He has no clue who the emperor is, right? Seeing him for the first time.
Bravo, Majesty. Please, not enthusiasm, I beg you. Ah. But,
Majesty.
no, please, please, it's not a holy relic. Oh, this is yours.
Keep it, Majesty, if you want. It's already healing my neck.
What? From one hearing only?
I think so, sire.
Yes? Show us.
Now watch. He's going to fix it.
The rest is just the same, isn't it?
It doesn't really work, does it? Did you try? Shouldn't it be a bit more?
Or this?
Watch it become something you recognize.
Yes.
Better? What do you think?
That's to indicate that even the people out in the hallway like it now. So now, this is Amadeus, the movie, and based on historical relationships and so on, Salieri, real court.
And accounts.
Salieri was, by the way, much more popular in that day. Mozart wasn't really the most popular composer of his day. He didn't become more popular till later, although in the movie it's kind of interesting that Salieri knows that eventually his music will be forgotten and Mozart will be famous. Right? He knows it. How does he know it? Well, that's the theme I'm trying to indicate here that this scene actually is showing us, and that is that some music is better than others. You think, gosh, in this country, that's illegal to say, isn't it? Imagine saying in this country that some music is actually good music and other music not quite so good. I mean, it's like your own, preference, isn't it? And everybody can have their own preference, and I can't complain that your preferences are terrible. That's just not American, right? And yet at the same time, if we go back to like the golden ratio, remember that issue? That there's a mathematical nature in the way music sounds and so on, that Mozart was connected somehow to the algorithms that really worked, right? And
Yeah, I
Salieri
know.
was close, but not quite.
Yeah, I know there's even like a I remember going through a study a friend sent me once, where for some odd reason, like Mozart's music has a lot of weird properties. First off, it's like actually can like stimulate the mind almost. It, like,
So
stimulates
the
neural
Mozart
activity.
effect for the babies, right?
Oh,
By the
yeah.
way, today they don't say it's just Mozart. It's any music that has a particular logical
Yeah.
structure to
You
it.
can also use it, I think, oddly enough, to like add as like a layer of encryption. It's like a weird way. I have this one guy that was from Albuquerque. No, he's not from Albuquerque. He's from Alberta, right? Alberta.
Canada.
Yeah,
A little
Alberta,
difference.
Canada. Yeah,
Alberta-
big
Albuquerque,
difference. Big
Canada.
difference. Well, he works in like cybersecurity and all that, and you know, when I was calling with him, showed me a server room that he helps maintain. And in this big old server room, they actually had like a little recording of Mozart playing constantly. And the reason he did that, because I was confused, like why the hell is there like
You're
Mozart
supposed
here?
to
It adds like an
offer
extra layer of
playing
encryption.
music, playing Mozart for students prior to taking a test. That's actually
Yeah.
statistically supposed to improve their scores on a test,
Yeah.
theoretically. No, it's fascinating, that whole thing. I remember when I was a kid in college, they were just starting to think that they could use music as therapy. Today, it's an actual thing. You can
Yeah.
use music as therapy, and there's the feedback thing and all that stuff. And we use it. I'm addicted to music as Sophie, right? Daniela.
Lots of students.
I'm really striking out today.
Solid effort. I'll give you.
Who's
a
Sophia?
minus.
Sophia? We have a Sophie in here.
Not today.
Not today. Okay. Well, shoot, I got lost. Where am I? Yeah, we are. But I mean, why is this pertinent to David Hume? I mean, that's, I think talking about sense input, talking about Beethoven, pianos on the floor, maybe how we got there. But there's something else going on clearly, and the ideas are significant. And where do they come from, right? For David Hume. And in that portion, he's talking about love and the love object, but it's not just the object itself. It's got to be something else in our community and our culture. And remember, the book is not just about how we know, but if you go back and look at the entire book here, the book one is on the understanding, but then we have the ideas of space and time, love, hatred. It's about morals too. It should be in the A Treatise of Human Nature. It doesn't have the whole title. All right, because he really does get into ethics and morals as well. But let's look at how memory plays an important role in what we can know. As I've said, how silly it seems, I'm looking at Hannah. Phew, got it right that time. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from, right? But by the way, there are people that seem to remember everything